Yeah. Okay.
I resume.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Have We Made It Yet podcast. If this is your first time listening or your 85th time listening, as Josh has just reminded me, plus one, since there was a COVID episode that we did, a bonus one. So it could be potentially 86th time. This is the Have We Made It Yet podcast. My name is Lucas, the actor portion of this podcast, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Josh Young. I am the comedian slash a variety of different little projects here and there portion of the podcast. And yes, welcome back to our first episode of 2025.
That is true.
We're really aiming for a semi-annual episode cadence. I feel like that's that's the natural cadence we've gotten into, and I think it's just a part of life. And this is just my excuse for us not having an episode in the last few months. But other than that, welcome back. If this is your first time listening, the Have We Made It Yet podcast was a question Lucas and I asked each other when we first started on our kind of artistic journeys 5-6 years ago. And then the pandemic hit, and then we switched it up to do this type of like interview style podcast over Zoom. So we ask each other, have we made it yet? Give each other a little bit of an update, and then from there we usually have great guests. We have a great guest today to talk about their experiences as well making it, and yeah. If you want to look at all 84 other episodes at plus one, go right ahead. But yeah, Lucas, what was the
Actually, no, I should ask you this one just because of the order of
order of our, because we want this to
operations.
flow properly, and
Yes.
inherently I've messed up the flow. But Lucas, naturally, Lucas, you had something to say. All right.
Exactly. Just a heads up for the first time listeners, this is a podcast where two creatives and their guest today talk about the process of making it. Josh, I do have to ask you the name of this podcast, and as every episode that we've already asked so far, Mr. Josh Young, have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. It's 2025. We started this 5 years ago, and it's always it's a growing question. It's a growing answer, and I would say no, I haven't made it yet. The last few months, actually, I've been in Brazil. I'm currently in Sao Paulo.
Hell yeah.
But I'm gonna in a couple of days. I'm flying back to Toronto, where it's nice and cold and beautiful, as opposed to Brazil. So not warm, and the food and the people are not amazing. And so it was a terrible 3 months, which. No, it wasn't. It was amazing. I don't want to leave, but yeah. So I've been here for the last 3 months. I managed to do one show in English in Rio, where I was for most of my time, and it was fun. There were some comedians I met there last year when I was in Rio, also for Carnival, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to do a show last year. But it's like a small community of a couple, like kind of expats, and then some local karaoke Brazilian
Cool.
comedians that are also starting to pick up English stand-up comedy. There's an existing Portuguese scene, and quite a few famous Portuguese like comedians, and they have like Netflix specials and all of that. But yeah, the English scene is a bit small, so they'd have infrequent shows. But yeah, definitely look them up if you guys want to. It's Rio Night Live, I believe. So yeah, you can look that up. But yeah, that was what I've been doing. I also trying some new travel content, which I'd like to share in a future episode in more detail. But that's kind of where I'm at. Lucas,
Yes.
Have you made it yet?
No, I have not made it yet. But I mean, to be honest though, I feel the best I've ever felt in my life before right now. Aside from like different things outside of acting, because I mean, at the same time, if you ever only like epitomize your whole life into one thing, you're gonna set yourself up just for disappointment. So I've really branched out in terms of work-wise. I really think I'm really killing it right now. For the
Okay.
first time in my life, I've never been good at a job. And like I
Really?
actually,
Huh.
yeah, dude, I was never good at film production. Like it was just because like I sunk so many years into it, but I was never good at it, you know? I can't handle shot numbers and
Mm.
tracking of multiple departments is just ugh. Um, so there's movement in my job, and I'm training right now for a marathon. So as listeners know, like I had a pretty bad injury, and then I've
Yeah.
recouped now, and I ran a half marathon, and now I'm training for a full one that's going to be coming up on May 4th. And literally just now, for listeners who may not know, our original recording was supposed to be at 11 a.m., but I had to rush back and still set up and everything like that. But I woke up at like 5:30 this morning, 5:30 a.m., and I finished a 31K
Oh,
before the recording of this episode.
wow.
And I'm not broken. I feel great. The leg held up, and
Mm,
the machine is working. The Bert
nice.
Kreischer machine is working. So I feel grateful.
Nice.
Um,
Amazing. I feel like I've
yeah,
gained like 8 pounds just been eating and drinking the last 3 months.
hell yeah.
Yeah,
You got to,
yeah.
man.
I'll get back into a more regimented whatever I did before. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But besides that, it's not about us today, Josh. It's
no.
about a pretty special guest. Are you ready for this introduction, Josh?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So we came upon our next guest in a way that's a little different than most. Usually, I've either followed our guest's work for a while or there's some kind of story behind how I found them. But this time, the team behind her recently released film reached out, and I'm so thankful they put her name on my radar. Our next guest is a Scottish Canadian actress whose work spans across TV and film. Through watching her work, I've since learned that she's been steadily carving out a place for herself in the genre storytelling, often playing fierce, layered characters in worlds full of chaos and power struggles, and with identity power plays at the same time too. And there's something intriguing about an artist who's quietly putting in the work, showing up, and letting the performances speak for themselves. You may have seen her in the holiday movie Leia's Perfect Gift, also in shows such as Nancy Drew, or most recently as the lead in the Vancouver produced feature Lola Dust. Please welcome to the show, Jade Pattenden.
Hi.
Hey, how you feeling? How's it going?
I'm great. That introduction was awesome. It made
Aw,
me like want to cry a little bit. That was so nice.
aw. Happy to have you. Happy we. I know we talked about this in the debrief before the recording, but I'm really happy that Olivier reached out and connected all of us. So,
Me
yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah, it's
totally.
incredible. Jade, I got to ask you the original question, as we ask every guest, and also Josh and I ask each other every recording. Jade, have you made it yet?
I would say no, but it also depends what you define as making it.
Please, please enlighten us.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm very grateful for what I have done already. Like
Hmm.
I didn't expect to be able to be a part of the things I've been a part of. Um, and in my head, I've made it because I've done more than I ever thought I could have done,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
But I also know like there's so much further I could go.
Yeah.
So that's
Uh,
kind of why I'm like, not really, but yeah, you know?
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
As a brief follow-up, though, if you had to epitomize your it in making it, could
Mm.
you quantify it? What would be your it in making it?
I think making it would be to be like booked and busy, you know?
Yeah.
Like hearing you guys answer that question, I'm like, I like your headspace because you feel like you're like comfortable where you're at and you're putting in that work and you're confident in that. But then you also know like you could make a lot more progress in what you're trying to do, whether
Hmm.
it's comedy or acting, right? So I
Absolutely.
feel like to be a working actor to me would be making it, and it doesn't necessarily equate to like fame because there's a lot of actors that I absolutely love watching what they're in, and I feel like if they were like walking down the street they wouldn't get like attention per se unless you like
Mm.
really know, like you're tapped into their like acting work. But there's some
Hmm.
actors who are like chameleons and
Hmm.
they're like character actors. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna butcher his name, but Michael Stolberg. He was in The Shape of Water. He was in Call Me by Your Name as the dad, and he was also in
Yeah.
Bones and All. And every single time I see a movie he's in and I don't know he's in it, I don't realize until it's like almost the end of the movie. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a second, is that him? And I look
Mhm.
it up and I'm like, that is him. That's crazy. And someone like him is like my epitome of making it because he's like working all the time. But I
Mhm.
feel like he has like a good level of being known that it's not like
Mm.
he's like a super famous A-list celebrity. No disrespect to him. But I
Mhm.
just mean like he's got that level of fame where people are like, he's a good actor, he does good work, like let's
Yeah.
hire him, you know? Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
yes.
know exactly who you're talking. His monologue in "Call Me by Your Name" is just like beautifully written and beautifully delivered.
Yeah.
I think he is an interesting like kind of section of Hollywood or of the acting community where he's like right in the pocket of not, like you said, not A-list famous where like he would get stopped in the street, but
Yeah.
definitely recognizable enough where it's like you notice him in films like, oh, is that, oh, I like that actor
Yeah.
or actress. And I think like, yeah, the more we've talked to actors or directors, musicians, and everything, it does seem like if you're able to have a good balance between steady booking and steady work, but
Mm-hmm.
also still have some privacy, some of your
Yeah.
own, like time to yourself, your life to yourself. That's
Yeah.
almost kind of better from a long run if you were to like get super famous, super popular, and then just burn out, and then like you're kind of like completely burnt out by the process. And if
Yeah.
anything, like the movie Lola Dust does bring in that element of like fame and everybody knowing you. But
Mm-hmm.
of course, that was outside of the main character's control. But in today's world, it's like those are things we have to balance off as like, okay, we want to make it, but then sometimes we don't know what making it even entices at the highest level.
Mhm.
Yeah.
um yeah, so then to follow in that kind of thread for you when you started out, and you had this idea of what kind of your work or where you wanted to go, has that changed and developed over time, to kind of like where it is now and more formed after you've gone through some experiences?
I think so. Like, I think I didn't actually mean to get into the film industry, first of all.
Mm.
Oh.
Um, yeah. I mean, I grew up in Scotland and I grew up in the countryside basically. Like I lived in Edinburgh till I was 7, and then we moved to the
Mm.
countryside. And the countryside is like quiet.
Mm.
The town I lived in had 1,000 people. And yeah, it was
Oh,
small.
wow.
And it like, it was amazing in so many ways, but
Mhm.
Scotland's a very homogenous place. So
Mm.
like there was my family, there was like one Indian family, and then one Chinese family. And
Mhm.
other than that, everyone's white. So it was like just a very different experience growing up. And my framework of like what I thought I could do with my life was just
Mm.
very small.
Mm.
And so like I always loved film and TV, but I just didn't look at it in a way like, oh, this could be a career. Like it's almost
Mhm.
like I think Raven Simone is like that character in That's So Raven. Like I don't even
Yeah.
picture like her outside of that, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I think that I immigrated to Canada, but I went to Saskatchewan. They had Corner Gas, the TV show, but like
Hmm.
otherwise there's not really a film industry there. And then I
Mhm.
moved to Vancouver and I just, sorry, I'm like so going on a tangent right now.
Please,
No
please
I
go.
worries.
promise this leads into the answer. Um, but yeah, like, I heard that the interview was filming here with like Seth Rogen. I
Yeah.
knew
Oh,
he was
wow.
from here.
Franco.
So
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, that's cool. And I just was like, oh, I wonder if I could be an extra in a movie. That would be cool. And basically that's how I got into the industries by
Mm.
doing
Wow.
background acting. Yeah. And
Mhm.
so just even entering that world, I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize there was a film industry in Vancouver, in
Mhm.
like Canada, which is maybe ignorant of me, but yeah. And then I guess my goal was just to keep working in the industry, and it was insanely busy for years and years up until like COVID. And yeah, I just gradually started trying to audition for things, and I was fucking terrified. Sorry for swearing.
It's all good.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. We're definitely like swearing emotion encouraging podcast.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I just was like, holy shit, like this is such a wild ride, you know?
Mhm.
And I definitely I think it's just like being in the arena for me was enough for like the first few years of trying to audition for things,
Mhm.
because I think a big part of me was too scared about like actually booking a role. Like
Mhm.
if I actually were to book it and go to set, like that's a different story. But at least like going in the room and auditioning it felt like I was trying, putting in like effort towards something, right?
Mhm.
And I think once I booked stuff and now like working on Lola Dust, like that was a crazy experience. I feel like it
Mhm.
just kind of catapulted me into believing that like, hey, you're capable of taking on like a big role because you've already done it. And so
Yeah.
my goal
Yeah.
now is just like keep doing that, keep trying new things and
Yeah.
putting yourself out there and see what happens, see what sticks.
That's crazy just because your initial offering into the film industry was through extra work. And
Yes.
so now from extra work to number one on the call sheet for a feature film in a
Yeah.
span of like I know you probably started much earlier before, but I just saw on your IMDb you started in 2017, which was your first credit, till 2024. That's only a span of 7 years, and that's huge growth. That's
Yeah.
honestly unheard of in a lot of ways. I don't see that much progress in this field. So how has that inspired you to keep on going?
I think I got so lucky with Lola Dust that like I'm still aware of the fact that it's a locally made film and
Mhm.
there's so much local talent. It's not to say that it's less quality because it's a local project. I just mean,
Mhm.
like I feel like in a lot of ways, Americans view Canada as like, oh, we're just cute little Canadians, like
Mhm.
it's kind of like you're almost like a side piece to their main project, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of how it feels like. And
Mhm.
I was just a part of the bargaining for the UBCP, like our
Mhm.
local union,
Yeah.
Mm.
and I was able to see like so much through that and just kind of like the outlook or the mentality towards Canada. It's just
Mhm.
very interesting. So I think like to be a part of a local project and to be the lead was incredible because I
Mhm.
feel like you're just automatically given like respect. And it was almost like they trusted me too much, where I was like, what if I tank this and you've just like
Uh-huh.
put all this money into this project? I was actually
Yeah.
very scared, but it
Mhm.
all worked out. And,
Mhm.
Exactly.
at the end of
Mhm.
the day, as long as you prepare as much as you can, then
Yeah.
that's all you can really do. And
That
yeah.
yeah. Oh, sorry, Josh, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, when you said preparation, that was a thing like I
Yeah.
wanted to touch upon as well. I think both of us watching the
Mhm.
film, seeing the range between the characters, the two main
Yeah.
characters as well, and all the different themes and emotions that those characters went through. There
Mhm.
definitely must have been a lot of preparation. And speaking of which, is like being able to have the opportunity to have your own feature, but then also if you look at it from an acting skills perspective, the character and the opportunity within the film itself was
Mhm.
actually amazing as well. um,
Yeah.
so how did you approach that? Because you definitely had to channel two different personas, but then also the varying degrees of those personas that were,
Mhm.
I think, like hugely different. Yeah,
Mhm.
if you could run through kind of how you tackled that, what you might have learned out coming out of it, and then like moving forward, like how it can help you in your acting career.
Yeah, so I'll try and make this like condensed, but essentially like when I was contacted by the director Dom, it was in an email.
Mm.
And I basically was kind of like, sometimes there's spam emails that you get, or
Yeah.
like where they want you to click a link or something. And I was kind of like, I don't know if this is legit. So I just kind of didn't reply for a bit, which is
Mhm.
like so crazy to think that I almost didn't reply to this email. And
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
in the email, he had said, like, he had a link to his website, and he had said, like, if you want to read the script, I will email the full script to you.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, well, what's the harm in that? He sent the script. I really liked it. And so I replied and said I'd love to audition. And then I auditioned for it. But basically, I auditioned for Nadia first. And
Mhm.
then the callback, I guess, was for Lola Dust.
Mm.
And I was still kind of like wary of, like, the thing she says in the movie is they're very controversial. She's pretty crazy, you know. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to audition with my like own voice, I
Mhm.
guess, but also it does tie into the story that she's like British. So in my
Mm.
head, I just pictured this really crazy British character, and for
Mhm.
the callback, I just kind of was like, it's all or nothing, went for
Yeah.
it, and they were like, oh, this is great, like this works really well, and they hired me.
Mhm.
So I think like the contrast of the two characters was like a product of me kind of being fearful of this, like, you
Mm.
know, recorded Zoom call self tape potentially being put out there, and then like maybe in the wrong context, like you don't know, like kind of
Right.
mirroring the movie in a weird way, right?
Mhm.
So I was kind of like, this could be a like Black Mirror situation with this email. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah. And then yeah, with the in terms of like the character, like I think that was the first time I've ever really like fully went for it in terms of creating a character that's like fully different from
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
Like you always try and find similarities, right, when you're auditioning for something, but for this one I was like, I can't relate to this girl, but
Yeah.
you know, but it was also like, let's just have fun with playing it. And it just felt so like freeing to just go for it like on set. And I remember
Mm.
like the first day I like did a Lola Dust scene in front of like the crew and stuff. I think
Mhm.
they were genuinely like, because they were not expecting it, because I'm just a
Right.
very like, you know, mellow kind of boring person.
Mhm.
So I'm just like chilling, and then it's like that character comes out and everyone was like, what the fuck, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And it just felt really good for it to be like, I'm capable of doing a
Mm.
character that is really out there. And I think it gave me a lot of confidence, because I would love to be more of a like character actor. Like I don't want to
Mhm.
be typecast into like a certain box, which, you know, I kind of have been in the past with like
Yeah.
Mm.
previous agents, where it's like, you know, girlfriend or like hot girl. There's nothing wrong with those roles, but it was just always the same type of
Mhm.
Yeah.
stuff. And I was
Mhm.
like, I just want to be like a crazy person, or make me like a witchy like lady, and like make me old, put like
Yeah.
special effects makeup on me. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Deep down, that's what I wanted, but it was like, that's not what I was getting
Right.
sent. And so I feel like it just kind of cracked open this like need for like more crazy characters. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did want to ask about that, about certain totems that you had that brought Lola out of you. I know some actors say like once they wear the costume that really brings out something, even if they
Yeah.
speak differently, such as the accent that you had just said with the British accent. What
Mm.
sort of totems did you bring onto set that really filled out the performance of Lola?
That's a yeah, that's a good question. I think like the makeup artist was really talented. There was, well, two makeup artists, Insha and Jessica, but they put like these fake nails on me that were really long.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, I'm very like, I'm a tomboy, I would say, but putting on those long nails, like it's just all of a sudden you're like talking differently, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the way you move, it's weird. It's like it just made me more like sassy, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the wig and the makeup and
Mhm.
even the clothes. So it just kind of helped a lot to just fall into it. It was more about, yeah, like the wardrobe and the makeup. But then with Nadia, I felt like it was more um drawing from like personal experiences or like smells. Like
Hmm.
there's certain
Smells.
yeah, there's certain smells that really like evoke emotion in me. Like
Mm.
it's like I literally pulled a braid spray from when I was like a kid. Like I went and bought a bottle of it, and I would
Hmm.
just spray it, and that smell just like would trigger so much memory and emotion in me that it
That's
made it so
awesome.
much easier to like fall into it. So
Hmm.
yeah, there were
Mm.
like different ways of connecting to the characters, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great point that you said, like, even the nails brought out the sassiness and everything like that. But I gotta say, Lola says some pretty crazy shit. So like,
Yeah.
so it's actually really cool that you can like distance yourself from it, but have fun with the character because at the same time, the gospel right now is the script, and you just want to make it do justice as you're saying the words of someone else, but
Yes.
fully committing and believing in it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you briefly touched upon this at the same time too, but of course, like there's semblance, of course, like Tatiana Maslany's Orphan Black that plays like multiple characters within the same actor. What
Yes.
sources of inspiration did you latch onto for this film? Did you look at certain characters or actors that helped fill out your work?
I actually didn't specifically. I think if I really thought about it, I'm sure the idea of Lola Dust stems from things I watched as a kid, like in the
Hmm.
UK, because, you know, they have a range of like soaps to really amazing dramas.
Hmm.
So I'm sure it's like a combination of a bunch of people that I've seen over time, but I
Yeah.
couldn't pinpoint it to a specific person per se. But they're
Hmm.
actually like for her like accent, which like to Canadians or like to North Americans, like they're probably like, oh, like that's a good accent. But I was like, when my dad watched it, I was like, oh God, like he's probably gonna be like, girl, what? What kind of
Yeah.
English accent is that?
Oh.
But I did watch a bit of Love Island, and there was like one girl,
Uh,
she'd always be like, Jake, Jake. And so I was in my head, I'd be like, Jake, to try and get into the vibe of this person. So I guess
I
I can
love that.
give some credit to that, but yeah.
Love
I feel
Island.
like that's a very, astute approach because
Yeah.
Lola is an outrageous character with an outrageous accent. It fits more that kind of reality show surrealist type of
Yeah.
vibe. Is like, is this character a real person or why are they doing this, type of accent and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you look into any of, say, like Black Mirror episodes? Because there is a lot of that Black Mirror thematically and tonally throughout the movie as well.
Yeah, I've seen like all of the Black Mirror episodes,
Hmm.
honestly, and I think that it was a big inspiration for the writer and the producer.
Yeah.
Like they're really into stuff like Black Mirror. So yeah, like I think in terms of like how quickly her life was falling apart and whatnot, and how that would feel, definitely Black Mirror, you know,
Yeah.
helps in general. Every episode I'm always like so anxious and like, you know,
Hmm.
Yeah.
so scared for the characters. So yeah.
I hear you. Just on a more like tactical note and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a monster in terms of like training for, a 10-kilometer run versus a half marathon versus a marathon. A
Yeah.
feature length such as a 90-minute feature length is a beast in terms of
Yes.
like the book and also the character book that you probably had to take cues from and notes from too.
Yeah.
What was your process in understanding a fully fleshed out character and
Hmm.
also the tactical thing of memorizing? Because it couldn't
Yes.
be easy. Well, what was your tactic? If you can let our listeners
So
know.
basically, like when I first got the script, I read the full thing before I had said like, hey, yeah, I'll audition for this. And then
Hmm.
once I found out I got it, the first thing I did was read the full thing through again while taking notes on my computer, and I made a
Hmm.
timeline using like this app. So it was like a very clear timeline. And I ended up sending that to the director because he was like, you made a timeline? I was like, yeah, it's actually really handy.
Hmm.
Just with like a brief scene description, you know, so
Yeah.
I could see how things were playing out, because you know it goes back and forth, like she thinks that she's solved the problem and then it's
Hmm.
back to like another problem, and then it,
Yeah.
you know, I just needed to know where I was at because I'm a
Hmm.
very visual person like that. And
Hmm.
then I I have to shout out my acting coach, Robin Ross. She's
Mm.
amazing. She's also
Awesome.
like one of my closest friends.
Hmm.
She's been acting since she was like 17 years old, and
Nice.
she's so talented and like just seriously one of the sweetest, funniest, smartest, kindest people.
Hmm.
And she is one of the reasons why I got into acting, because of her encouragement and everything. So just
Mhm.
look her up. She's awesome. So she coaches me for like everything I've booked. And yeah, so she basically went through every scene with me and coached me for
Wow.
it. And we would work together, and I would come memorize so that it was easier to, work through the scenes with her.
Love it.
And actually, my technique for memorizing lines is called the streamlining method. People should look that up. There's a book
Mhm.
on it and everything. I went to a seminar at the UBCP
Mhm.
office that they hosted like years ago, and
Mhm.
it changed everything for me.
Mm.
It's the only technique I use to remember lines.
Mhm.
And once you like lock in that method, like, and once you learn a scene, like it's not going out of your head. So on Lola Dust, like they were like, you have all your lines memorized, like you haven't really fumbled them. And I was like, it's because of this technique, like it's
Mhm.
crazy. So then, yeah, just basically like figuring out each scene and like what my character wants in the scene, where they just
Mhm.
came from, and what they want by the end,
Mhm.
and the shifts within it. That's basically like the technical side of things for me when I'm working on something.
I love that in addition to, of course, you put in the work, you put in the timeline and everything like that, but you also shout out the mentors that are out there to help you at the same time, which is so important.
Yeah.
Um, Acting could feel like a really lonely craft because it's between you and your essentially you and your agent, when you
Yes.
really boil it down for the business aspect of it. But you shout out, of course, Robin Ross. You had shout out
Yes.
your mentor too. So definitely, I think that that's one of the major things that goes missing in terms of our acting craft. It's the community behind us that really holds us up all together.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Anything you want to add on that, Josh?
Um, I definitely no, actually, I was just listening. I just realized I
Sorry,
was
I'm
just like
such a
listening.
yapper.
I was just listening and learning, and I was like streamlining method. Oh, that's great. That's great. It was like we should definitely be like taking a lot of these type of like technical tools and just like adding them to kind of
I know.
a podcast, list of advice and
Uh-huh.
things that our listeners can take from. So I was just like listening and processing it, and it's yeah, all great stuff.
Awesome.
And when it comes to like coming out of the film and taking those tools and putting them into action, um has there been like a big takeaway for yourself that like when it came to approaching the work from previous parts to this big part and then approaching future jobs and opportunities, has your perspective changed coming out of this feature?
I think so. And I think it's kind of as simple as, you don't always get to watch what you're in, right?
Mhm.
Like I had booked a TV pilot before Lola Dust, and it like never got picked up. And who's to say like it could get picked up, but it was 3 years ago now. So
Hmm.
like who knows? And I never actually
Yeah.
got to see any footage. So I just kind of was like,
No.
in your head, you're like, oh, I must have done a bad job. Like it didn't get picked up, blah, blah, blah. Like you're just overthinking it. So I think like with Lola Dust, like it filmed 2.5 years ago, I think. Like it
Oh.
was
Mhm.
it was a while ago, yeah. So like I watched it for the first time in November. I'd seen like a couple scenes, I think, before that, but yeah, I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. It's been so long, right? And I think like you critique it
Mm.
naturally, but I wasn't like beating myself up. But I think just being fully honest, like watching my performance with Nadia, like I wish I had kind of fleshed out her character a bit more. Like it's not like I would have, she didn't need to be more dramatic or anything, but I just wish I kind of let go like I had with
Mm.
the Lola Dust character. And
Right.
it's
Hmm.
something
Right.
maybe I pick up more than anyone else, but I think after doing it, I started to be more free in my auditions. And I think
Nice.
it's helped
Yeah.
a lot to just be like, girl, don't worry about it. Like, just
Yeah.
be yourself and
Hmm.
breathe, and just do the self tape and then let it go.
Hmm.
So I think in terms of that, I walked away from it just like caring a bit less, and in terms of overthinking something, which I'm really
Yeah.
grateful for. Yeah.
If I
That's
could say, like, I think oh, you know what? I'm just gonna say this. I think I speak
Yeah.
for Josh and I when I say this, but that the way that you did play Nadia, was pretty powerful in that way that it gave so much contrast to Lola. So
Yeah.
in terms of your subdued nature with Nadia, which I think is a great choice, it
Mm,
just gave that much more levity to Lola being, I didn't want to say this, but just literally crazy.
yeah.
So
yeah.
it's a great choice, and we loved it. So yeah, and if
Well,
of
thank
course,
you.
like, yeah, no, we're happy to watch it. Yeah, and we just can't wait to see what's next, just because you have a feature under your belt. That's huge. And number
Yeah.
one on the call sheet. So it can only go from there, and keep on going, Jade. You're doing great things.
Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what you guys do too. I'll be
Yeah, yeah.
watching. I'll be watching silently.
Sounds good. I just want to switch gears for a little bit as we're about to potentially wrap up the interview portion here.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries.
yeah, I was listening to your podcast, like I'm an adult now, what? And just
Yes.
noticed themes of like growth and being at peace amidst the chaos of transitioning into adulthood and everything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, if you had the chance, I mean, what would you say to your younger self to calm her anxiousness?
Oh my gosh. I think I would just say like people don't this sounds bad. People don't care about you as much as you think they do. And
Hey,
I mean that in
yes,
terms of
yes.
like, if you mess up or you do something wrong or
Yes.
embarrassing, like people think about it for a moment and then they move on because they have their
Yep.
own things to think about. So
Hmm.
there's so many embarrassing things I did as a kid because I was just like shy and awkward. And even like the beginning of auditioning where it's like, oh god, that was so cringe, like what just happened? And it's
Yeah.
like those people aren't going to be thinking about me, 5 years later, oh, that
Hmm.
really bad audition. And even if they do recall it, it will be for a moment and then they'll move on.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like just learn how to relax because at the end of the day, like life is short and you have to enjoy like the process of trying
Hmm.
because once you actually achieve something, you might actually be like, oh, well, shit, what do I do now? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you look back and you realize, oh, I actually was just enjoying like the process.
Love it.
But then I was also
Yeah.
anticipating the achievement of that goal. So like I
Hmm.
wasn't fully enjoying the process and now it's like achieved. So what do I do now?
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
like just slow down a little,
Hmm.
take it in, be proud of yourself for putting yourself out there and trying, and the rest is out of your hands anyways. So just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Little
I
Jade
agree.
would have been happy to hear that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And she would have loved to see like how far you've come too. Like, can you imagine
Oh,
telling her, I'm a professional actor. Can you
yeah.
imagine telling that to like your 5-year-old self?
I
Slow
just
down.
I don't think my little self would believe it, like genuinely. So
Yeah.
that's cool in itself. Yeah.
No doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah, almost just to wrap it up though, what other major areas of growth in your craft and life have you been most proud of recently?
Um, I think it's kind of just what I said, to be honest, like just coming to that realization or that headspace and just feeling more at peace. And instead of being stressed when I get like a big self tape, I
Hmm.
feel more relaxed about it, where I'm like, you
Nice.
know what? Even if I get this done like a few hours before the deadline, that's chill. Like that's just how life panned out because I had other stuff
Yeah.
to do and I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
put in that work and it will be fine,
Yeah, yeah.
I think just genuinely feeling calm about that has been like my proudest achievement
Mm.
recently. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Was that just more of a realization that you had that you're like, I can't carry this anxiety with me for the rest of my life. And eventually you just said, things will get done when they get done. And yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And things in life happen that give you more perspective, like
Oh, for
you,
sure.
just like losing people around you or whatever it may
Oh.
be, where it's kind of like,
Mm.
oh, like it's fine.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it really does. I don't mean to say it's not important, but
Hmm.
it's like it's not the most important thing. So I think that helped come to that realization.
I hear that. That's the
Yeah.
abundance mindset. I love it. It's not
Yeah,
scarcity. Yeah, love it.
exactly.
hmm Um, Josh, if you have anything last that you want to add before we go into our game for today.
Um, I did because I I have a separate podcast called Sleep with Josh. It's like a specifically sleep oriented where I use my monotone voice and I read very dry material. And I
Okay.
started around the same time as this podcast.
Hmm.
And I put out like 80 something as well, like episodes of this podcast. But
Hmm.
over time, I realized there were certain parts of it that kind of like felt a bit grueling, burnt out by the recording editing process. So it's been more of a drudgery to try and like produce those episodes. And then kind of like other things came into my mind creatively. So, you know, you kind of balance out your time and creative pursuits.
Yeah.
Um, for your podcast, I believe it was like 39 or so episodes around there over, I think it was like 4 years, around
Yeah.
3 4 years, which
Hmm.
is, you know, when it comes to podcasts, very few podcasts even get past like, I don't know, a dozen episodes. And being able to put, and I saw you had a lot of guests as well, so being able to put in 39 episodes already an achievement. um
Right.
and I think there does come a period of time where we all try different projects and pursuits, and naturally sometimes with your life or your interest in other things, you just kind of have to naturally choose to pursue other things as well. When it came to
Yeah.
that podcast, definitely felt like a journey of what the purpose of it was in the beginning versus all the different guests you had and conversations you had, and then towards the end where you decided to I think the last episode was like 2021. It's been a while, and pursue other things.
Yeah.
What was kind of that decision towards the end there where you were like, you know what, I'm proud of this podcast. I'm happy for the experiences I've done with it. And I don't really feel a pressure to need to continue it. And I want to pursue other things. Like, how was that kind of decision making process for you?
I think it was kind of a combination of, it was during COVID
Mm,
essentially. And like the last
hmm
few episodes, I believe, were like Zoom call episodes, which I've grown to actually enjoy using Zoom, but I felt like a bit of a disconnect because I would rather sit down with the person in person because it just
hmm
feels a lot different.
yeah.
And so I think just with COVID and feeling isolated and then feeling like it was kind of weird to be on the Zoom call versus in person.
Yeah.
But also just I think I look back and my people pleasing was more profound back then. Like
Oh.
I think there was people
hmm
who would find out I had a podcast and they would ask me to be on it, and I found it hard to say no. And it's not like I was like, oh, I don't want to interview them, but it just I have to feel like there's something that I really want to talk to this person about. And most of my
Mhm.
guests I'd actually met during background at some point. Because there's a lot of amazing people who work in film, but they
hmm
have other aspects of their life that are completely unrelated to film, or they've
You're
been
right.
through something that I'm like, they brought me to tears like at work. And I'm like, oh my God, that you have such an incredible story. Like no one would have known just from you sitting here in like a
hmm
medieval costume as an extra on like this random show. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
stuff like that, and in my head, I have a mental list of people who I would love to interview at some point. And I think I left the podcast alone, knowing that it's not forever. Like I would like to come back to it.
hmm
So it wasn't like this is finished for good. Even if it's like
Mhm.
5 years from now, like my podcast to me isn't like done. It's
Yeah.
like a lifelong passion project. But when you're the person setting it up and recording it and editing it and then putting it out there and marketing it, it's like it's so much work that I
Yeah.
just kind of had to take a step back. And I think it's amazing that there's two of you and you have like a common goal, because that really helps motivate you to do it, I'm sure, versus like a solo thing. But
Mhm.
like you said with your other podcast, Josh. But yeah, I think, does that answer the question? I went on a
Absolutely.
tangent again.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
because I think that's the thought process like everybody eventually goes through when it
Mhm.
comes to putting out, because a ton of podcasts were put out during the COVID period.
Yeah.
But being able to stick through and put out like 30 something episodes is already an achievement. And I
Yeah.
think you do realize that there is a time and place for a lot of these projects and conversations. And like you said, it's not a closed door. I mean, for this podcast, we started this 5 years ago, and we were
Mhm.
able to put out maybe one episode a week for like a whole year, which now I think about is unbelievable. Like, how did we even do that given the time it takes for us to try to do one now? But
Yeah.
looking at this as a question and a like a theory of the podcast, like we could keep doing this periodically, ask each other this question for decades as
Yeah.
we have like
Yeah.
kids and or whatever, and whether or not we achieve it, who
Mhm.
knows. But it's like it does feel like a lifelong type of project. It's like there's no rush.
Yeah.
So yeah, still it's fun to hear you have a very similar type of like approach and like thought process.
Yeah. And I think it's cool that if you do have kids, like in the future, they could pull up your podcast and listen to
Yeah.
all these things and like where you were
Yeah.
at in that moment and like the progress you made. Like, I think that's amazing.
That's true. I
Exactly.
never
Yeah.
considered that part, if they'll still watch like grainy YouTube videos when my kid is like 10. But that'd be funny.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Um, is it time for the game time, you
I
think?
think so. I think so.
Okay,
Cool.
cool. Jade, it's been incredible, but we're gonna switch gears a little bit.
All
We're gonna
right.
do a word association game. Josh, would you want to give the run through?
Absolutely. So at the end of our episodes, we usually dive into some pretty substantial material, sometimes deep, sometimes like very, profound. So like we like to end things off with a little lighter note, just like a simple word association game. Lucas has 10 words, I have 10 words. And
Okay.
Jade, for you, whenever you hear the word, just say the first word, thought, association that pops into your head,
Okay.
and then we can go from there. And yeah, it's just very light, no pressure to make it anything more than you could just say a word, or even if an image pops into your head. So no pressure on each individual word.
Okay.
um,
Sounds good.
Great. So how about this? I'll start first, and then Lucas, you can go on with yours.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So Jade, clear your mind, let Lola Dust flow into the wind like a speck of dust, and clear your head and all your worries. And I'll begin with my first word.
Okay.
All right. Childhood.
Scotland.
Banana.
Smoothie.
Beach.
Hawaii.
Solitude.
Working on it.
Goal.
Still figuring that out.
River.
North Van.
Circle.
Chair.
Kumquat.
No idea. Is it bad? I don't know what that is.
No, absolutely not. I love this word because it's such a random, it's a fruit. It's like such a random word that is like either confuses a lot of people.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
kind of the goal.
Gotcha.
Great. Next word. Image.
Camera.
And finally, satisfaction.
Right now.
Oh, cool.
Very in the moment. Very nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Very zen. Lucas, your
All
10
right.
words.
You feel ready, Jade?
I do.
Awesome. Awesome. Your first word is identity.
Ever flowing.
Scotland.
Tartan.
Nice turn. Oh, awesome. Adulthood.
Peace.
Hair.
Healthy.
There we are. Lola.
I actually think of grandma because my boyfriend's Filipino.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, Lola. Okay.
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
All right. Clay.
Ooh, fun.
Nice. I did have some questions about you being, ceramicist, and we can talk
Yeah,
about that next time.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why that popped in my head. Yeah.
Nice. Next word is travel.
Ooh, Asia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Race.
Ooh, duality.
Oh, nice. Action.
Video games.
Nice. And your last word is jade.
I think of the stone, the jade stone.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I was thinking of very like literal objects when you guys were talking. I'm like, circle chair. I used to have a circle chair. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I wasn't really going too deep into those, but I like that. Yeah.
But see, those are the types of things where it's like, it's very interesting insight. It's like, circle, how does your brain work?
Yeah.
Where that's what, it immediately conjured up. So
mhm.
yeah, we always like this game because it's a variety of answers and responses. So amazing. Thank you so much, Jade, for being on the podcast, sharing your experience, going through
Thank
these
you.
20 words.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great talking to you guys.
Same on our side.
Mhm.
Yeah, let us know what you're like working on coming up or currently working on, and where people can find you on your socials and stuff.
Yeah. Right now I don't have any specific project I'm working on, I'm just back to the grind of auditions and whatnot. And
That's what it is.
yeah, so I'm just working on my ceramics and living life. But
Nice.
yeah, my socials is my name, Jade Pattenden. My ceramics account is JP Art and Ceramics, if you're curious about that.
Nice.
And then for Lola Dust, I think their Instagram account is Lola Dust Film, which if they release it somewhere, they would have an update there. And yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Is there any potential screenings or future screenings that are coming up for Lola Dust?
They just had one for cast and crew in January, but I'm not sure if they'll have a second one. I know people have asked, so maybe, but
cool. We'll update our socials once there is news of a potential screening, but definitely let us know. We'd love to promote it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
no problem.
I want to come watch a comedy show, Josh, and I'll be rooting for you with your auditions too, Lucas.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Josh, where can people find you?
You can find me at Josh Yang Comedy, YANG, Yang Young. I'm trying to make a change with the names. Comedy across all social media. You can listen to me help you fall asleep with a Sleep with Josh podcast, if you so want. And yeah, keep an eye out for future travel content because I have been in Brazil for 3 months and I have some ideas that are coming out of it. So preview of stuff to come. Lucas, where can people find you?
You can find me across social media at Lucas John Ing. And if you like what you see and hear, you can find us on Instagram at HWMIY podcast or on YouTube at HaveWeMadeItYetPodcast.com. You can also find us on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. So check us out there. Give us a review if you like what you see and hear. Let's give it up for Jade one more time. This has been incredible. Thank you so much, Jade.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll hopefully see you in what time do you think? 2 months' time? Do you think?
Oh, okay. What? Me?
Our next recording. Our next recording.
Our next recording?
Yeah.
I mean, I will be in Vancouver in like May, June. So I mean, we could do we should do a live one between like a live episode. That's where I can share the whole travel content idea. But yeah, probably in a couple months.
Keep posted. Cool. All right. Thank you so much, gang. See you soon.
Bye, guys.